Monching Reyes stood at the free throw line of the NBA training facility in Los Angeles. His hands were shaking, not from fear, from anger. Around him, 5 NBA scouts sat with clipboards. They weren't even watching anymore. They were laughing. "How tall are you again?" One scout called out, smirking. 59, Monching answered, his Filipino accent clear. The scouts exchanged glances. One of them, a heavy-set man named Dave Morrison, didn't even bother hiding his grin. "Kid, let me save you some time," Morrison said, standing up. "The NBA isn't for guys like you. You're too short. And honestly, Filipinos play street ball, not professional basketball. This is the big leagues." Monching felt his chest tighten. He'd flown 18 hours from Manila, spent every peso his family had saved, trained for 3 years straight for this one chance. His father had worked double shifts at the factory. His mother sold food at the market. Also, he could be here. "Give me one drill," Monching said quietly. "Just one," Morrison laughed. "One drill. Fine, entertainment break. Boys, let's see you guard him." He pointed to a 6 feet 5 inches player warming up. Nearby, a college All-American named Travis being scouted for the first round draft. The other scouts chuckled. One pulled out his phone to record. This was comedy now. Monching walked onto the court. Travis looked down at him literally. "You sure about this, little man? I don't want to hurt you." The scouts laughed. Harder. What happened next? Nobody expected. The whistle blew. Travis drove left, confident, powerful. Monching stayed with him, footwork perfect. Travis tried to post him up, using his size and strength advantage. Monching read the move, stripped the ball cleanly with lightning. Quick hands, fast break. Monching's speed was explosive. He crossed half court in seconds, defenders scrambling. Euro step, left, crossover right, finished with a reverse layup that kissed perfectly off the glass. Swish. The gym went quiet. Morrison stood up slowly. "Lucky play. Run it again." They ran it 5 more times. Monching scored 4 times. Stole the ball 3 times. Made no look assists that had even Travis shaking his head in respect. His court vision was unreal, his speed unstoppable. But when the drill ended, Morrison walked over with the same smirk. "You're good for your size," he said, arms crossed. "But the NBA is about size, kid. You'd get destroyed out there against real athletes. We can't use you. Sorry." The other scouts nodded, already packing up their things. Plus, another scout added, casually, "Asian players just don't have what it takes at this level. It's genetics." Monching stood there, sweat dripping, lungs burning, heartbreaking. "Go back to the Philippines," Morrison added, not even looking at him. "Play in your local leagues. That's where you belong. Be realistic." 3 days later, Monching sat in his cramped apartment in Manila, watching NBA highlights on his phone. His younger sister, Maria, found him there, eyes red, jaw clenched. "They rejected you?" she asked softly, sitting beside him. Monching nodded, unable to speak. "What are you going to do now?" Monching looked at the worn basketball in the corner of his room. The same ball he'd practiced with since he was 7. The ball his father gave him. Then he looked at his sister with fire in his eyes. "I'm going to prove them wrong," he said. "I'm going to make them regret every word." "How?" Monching stood up, grabbing the basketball. By doing what they said was impossible. What Monching did next would shock the entire basketball world and change the game forever. Monching didn't sleep that night. He couldn't. Morrison's words echoed in his mind. "Go back to the Philippines. That's where you belong." The next morning, he was in the gym at 5 a.m., the same cramped community court in Manila where he'd learned to play. Cracked concrete, bent rim, no nets. But it was his court, his home. Maria found him there 3 hours later, drenched in sweat. "Monching, you need to rest," she said. "I can't," he replied, not stopping his dribbling drills. "Every second I rest, they're right about me." Over the next 6 months, Monching did something nobody expected. He didn't just train harder. He trained smarter. He bought every NBA game recording he could afford, studied film 16 hours a day, Not casually, obsessively. He broke down every point guard under 6 feet who'd ever succeeded. Muggsy Bogues, Isaiah Thomas, Nate Robinson. Frame by frame. He analyzed their footwork, their defensive angles, how they used speed to compensate for height, how they made taller players uncomfortable. But Monching didn't just copy, he innovated. He realized something Morrison and those scouts didn't understand. In basketball, the lowest man has the advantage. While 7-footers bent down to dribble, he was already low. His center of gravity wasn't a weakness. It was a weapon. He practiced getting under taller players, disrupting their dribbles from angles they couldn't defend, using his speed, not just to go around them, but to create chaos they couldn't handle. Word spread in Manila basketball circles. That kid who got rejected by the NBA is training like a madman. Then came the call that changed everything. Coach Rodrigo Santos from the Philippine Basketball Association had been watching Monching play in local leagues. The kid was dominating. 40 points one game, 20 assists another, 15 steals the next. Monching, Coach Santos said over the phone, "I want you to try out for the PBA." The PBA wasn't the NBA, but it was professional. It was a chance. It was a step. The tryout was brutal. 50 players, competing for 3 roster spots. Most were 63, 65. All of them looked at Monching the same way Morrison had, like he didn't belong. During scrimmages, they targeted him, posting him up, using size against him, testing him. But Monching had spent 6 months preparing for exactly this. The first time a 66 forward tried to post him up, Monching read the move. Before it happened, stripped the ball, clean, fast break, layup. The second time, same result. By the end of tryouts, Monching had the most steals, highest assist rate, and fastest sprint times of any player there. Coach Santos didn't hesitate. You made the team. 3 months into the PBA season, Monching was still coming off the bench. Limited minutes. The team's veteran players got priority. Monching understood. He was a rookie. He had to earn it. But in game 12, everything changed. The starting point guard went down with an ankle injury in the third quarter. The team was losing by 15 points. Coach Santos looked down the bench. "Monching, you're in." Monching's hands shook as he checked into the game. This was his moment. 6 months of obsessive training. 6 months of proving everyone wrong. It all came down to this. The opposing team saw him enter and smiled. Their center actually laughed. They're putting in the tiny guy. Game over. What happened in the next 8 minutes would shock the entire arena and change Monching's life forever. Monching exploded. First possession, he stole the ball at half court. The opposing center tried to react, but Monching was already gone. Layup down by 13. Second possession, he forced a turnover. Fast break. Assist to his teammate. Down by 11. The opposing team called timeout. Their coach was yelling, "Trap him. Double team. Don't let him breathe." But Monching had spent 6 months studying how to break traps, how to see passing lanes before they opened, how to use his low center of gravity to slip between defenders. Third possession. After timeout, they sent 2 defenders at him. Monching split them like they were standing still. Drew the third defender. No look pass to the corner. 3-pointer down by 8. The arena was getting louder. The fans were standing. They'd never seen anyone move like this. Fourth possession. Monching stole the ball again, this time from the same center who'd laughed at him. The big man tried to protect the ball, but Monching's hands were too quick. He stripped it clean, went coast to coast between 3 defenders. Euro-ep reverse layup. Down by 6. The opposing coach was screaming now. His players looked confused, exhausted. They couldn't keep up with Monching's pace. Fifth possession. Monching didn't even touch the ball. He ran the floor so fast, created so much chaos with his movement that his teammate got an easy dunk. Down by 4, the crowd was roaring. Monching's coach was on his feet pumping his fist. 2 minutes left. Monching brought the ball up. The defense collapsed on him. All 5 players focused on stopping the tiny point guard, who was destroying them. Monching smiled. This was exactly what he wanted. He drove left, drew four defenders. At the last second, wrapped a pass around his back to his teammate, cutting to the basket. Easy layup. Down by 2. 1 minute left. Tie game after a quick exchange of baskets. The opposing team had the ball. Their point guard tried to run clock, but Monching was everywhere, pressuring, disrupting his hands, flashing. Finally, with 30 seconds left, he tipped the ball away. Dove on the floor came up with it. Timeout. Coach Santos called him over. You've got them on their heels. The coach said, take the last shot. Win or lose, it's yours. Monching nodded. 6 months ago, he was crying in a Manila apartment. Now he was about to take the biggest shot of his life. The play started. Monching dribbled at the top of the key. 15 seconds. The defense was all over him. 10 seconds. Monching drove right. 3 defenders converged. 5 seconds. He stopped on a dime. Step. Back move. Tall defender flying past. Completely off balance. 2 seconds. Monching rose up. The shot felt perfect, leaving his hands. 1 second. Swish. The arena erupted. Fans stormed the court. His teammates mobbed him. Monching disappeared under a pile of celebrating players. When he finally emerged, he saw the opposing center, the one who'd laughed, walking off the court with his head down. Monching had scored or assisted on 18 points in 8 minutes. But the real victory wasn't the points. It was proving that height doesn't measure hot. After the game, Monching's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. The highlights were going viral, not just in the Philippines, worldwide. Then came the call he'd been waiting for. Is this Monching Reyes? The voice had an American accent. Yes, Monching answered, his heart pounding. This is Marcus Thompson, scout for the NBA G League. We've been watching your tape. That performance tonight. We want to offer you a contract. Monching hand trembled. Where? He managed to ask. Los Angeles. The same city where Morrison had rejected him. The same facility where they'd laughed at him. Monching looked at Maria, who was listening with tears in her eyes. When do I start? Monching asked. What happened when Monching returned to Los Angeles would shock everyone who ever doubted him. 6 weeks later, Monching walked into the same NBA training facility in Los Angeles where his dream had died. But this time, everything was different. He wasn't a hopeful dreamer anymore. He was a G League player with a contract. He'd earned this. The facility looked exactly the same. Same polished floors, same pristine courts, same scouts sitting with clipboards, and there in the middle of them was Dave Morrison. Monching's heart stopped. Morrison was evaluating G League players for potential NBA call-ups. He didn't recognize Monching. Why would he? He'd dismissed hundreds of players over the years. All right, let's see what we've got. Morrison called out, not even looking up from his clipboard. Height check. You number 7. How tall? Monching stepped forward. 5 feet 9 inches. Morrison's head snapped up. For the first time, he really looked at Monching. His eyes narrowed, trying to place him. Have we met before? Morrison asked. Yes. Monching said simply. You told me to go back to the Philippines. That Filipinos play street ball, not professional basketball. The gym went silent. Every player, every coach, every scout stopped and stared. Morrison's face turned red. He remembered now. The Filipino kid he'd mocked. The one he'd rejected without a second thought. That was you. Morrison stammered. Monching nodded. You said I was too short, that I'd get destroyed. You laughed at me. Morrison opened his mouth, then closed it. What could he say? He'd been wrong. Completely, utterly wrong. I've watched your tape from Manila, Morrison finally said quietly. That performance, 18 points in 8 minutes. I've never seen anything like it. You could have, Monching replied, his voice steady but without anger. 6 months ago, but you didn't give me a chance. You judged me before I even played. Morrison looked down, shame visible on his face. The head G League coach stepped forward. All right, let's see what you've got. Run the drill. They ran it. Monching was even better than before. Faster, smarter, unstoppable. When it ended, the gym erupted in applause. Morrison walked over, his voice shaking. I owe you an apology. I was wrong. Completely wrong. Munching looked at the man who'd crushed his dreams. He could have been angry, bitter. Instead, he smiled gently. Thank you, Munching said. Morrison looked confused. For what? For teaching me the most important lesson, Munching replied, that the only limits that exist are the ones we accept. You didn't believe in me, so I had to believe in myself. You rejected me, so I had to prove, not to you, but to myself, that I belonged. You gave me a gift, even if you didn't mean to. Morrison's eyes filled with tears. You're a better man than me. No, Munching said kindly. I'm just someone who learned that our worth isn't measured by others' expectations. It's measured by our own heart. 3 months later, Munching stood on an NBA court. Full roster, full contract. Living his dream. But the moment that mattered most came after the game. In the tunnel, he found his father waiting. The man who'd worked double shifts so Munching could chase this dream. His father didn't say anything. He just pulled Munching into his arms and cried. I'm sorry I ever doubted, his father whispered. You never did, Munching replied, holding him tight. You sacrificed everything so I could believe. Maria was there, too, tears streaming down her face. You did it, Kuya. You really did it. Munching looked at his family at the worn basketball his father had given him, now framed on his locker. No, he said softly. We did it. Every person who believed when the world said no, every sacrifice made, every prayer whispered, this isn't my victory. It's ours. Years later, when young Filipino kids would ask Munching how he made it, he'd always tell them the same thing. The world will measure you. They'll say, you're too short, too small, too different. But measurements don't matter. What matters is this. He'd point to his chest. The size of your heart, the strength of your belief, the courage to prove not to them, but to yourself that you belong wherever you dare to dream. And he'd smile, remembering the boy who cried in a Manila apartment, and the man who learned that sometimes our greatest defeats become our greatest teachers. Because in the end, success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself